Making headlines this hour. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz says that the proposed causeway connecting Kimbidu and Veymandu in Ta Atoll will usher in significant economic benefits for Kimbidu and the wider atoll. President Dr. Muiz announces plans to amend government regulations to ensure that local island councils receive direct financial benefits when uninhabited islands within their jurisdictions are developed into tourist resorts. And President Dr. Muiz, during an official visit to Veymandu in Ta Atoll, outlines a national agenda that places Islamic advancement at the center of his administration's development strategy. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. Now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz says that the proposed causeway connecting Kimbidu and Veymandu in Ta Atoll will usher in significant economic benefits for Kimbidu and the wider atoll. The president made these remarks during the community meeting with the people of Kimbidu as part of his ongoing marathon tour of 4 atolls, where he outlined a comprehensive array of development projects planned for the island. Reiterating his campaign pledge, President Dr. Muiz confirmed his commitment to making the Kimbidu-Veymandu causeway a reality. He revealed that an expression of interest or EOI for the project was opened on the 22nd of September, which has since generated considerable interest from investors. The ambitious infrastructure project is slated to proceed on a contractor finance basis integrated with a broader tourism development initiative. The president underscored that this project is expected to generate numerous employment opportunities and population consolidation efforts. Further details provided by the president included an investor's commitment to opening a resort in Ta Atoll before the end of next year. Additionally, the government has significant plans for the 25 hectares of reclaimed land in Kimbidu, which will include housing projects and other governmental initiatives with announcements expected soon. Addressing other pivotal community needs, President Dr. Muiz highlighted planned developments for the youth center, a new police station, and extensive road construction, all set to bring major improvements to the island. He also confirmed that his administration would work closely with the company already awarded the project to accelerate the development of the health center. In sports and recreation, the football ground is set to receive significant upgrades, including fencing, new lighting, a renovated staircase, and improved changing rooms. The president detailed the ground will also be developed to accommodate handball, with all sports facility works commissioned and commenced within the next 2 months. President Dr. Muiz, during the visit, witnessed the official inauguration of the long-awaited road modernization project in Kimbidu. The construction of the new police station in Kimbidu was officially kick-started during the president's visit to the island. President Dr. Muiz also met with members of the Kimbidu Island Council, the Women's Development Committee, and heads of local institutions to discuss the island's key development priorities. President Dr. Muiz is on an extensive 8-day official visit across 4 atolls, engaging directly with local communities to discuss development needs and pressing issues. This comprehensive tour is set to cover 31 islands across Vav, Mim, Faf, and Ta atolls, forming part of a broader series of visits to provinces across the country. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz announces plans to amend government regulations to ensure that local island councils receive direct financial benefits when uninhabited islands within their jurisdictions are developed into tourist resorts. The announcement, made during a visit to Omadu, Ta Atoll, addresses a long-standing legal constraint that requires islands to be formally removed from council jurisdiction before resort development can proceed. While such projects often generate employment and stimulate economic activity in nearby inhabited islands, governing councils have historically been excluded from receiving direct revenue. The president underscored that the proposed reform would be pursued through regulatory adjustments rather than legislative amendment. Under the current framework, islands with council jurisdiction may be leased for smaller-scale tourism ventures such as city hotels or guest houses. Resort developments, typically more lucrative, have required the removal of islands from council oversight, a step some councils have previously requested to facilitate investment. President Muiz underscored the importance of establishing a formal mechanism through which councils can benefit directly from high-value resort projects. The issue is particularly salient for Omadou, which has 2 uninhabited islands under its administrative purview. The president committed to expediting the island's stalled water and sewerage project by reassigning it to the state-owned company and pledged that a halted school construction initiative would be completed before the next academic year. The football pitch will be modernized with a new turf and lighting, and a new volleyball court will be included in the forthcoming national budget. Plans for religious and healthcare infrastructure were also detailed. The construction of a new mosque and the expansion of the local health center will be included in the next budget cycle. A new ambulance is expected to be delivered before year-end, and the administration will consider the council's request to dredge a new channel on the western side of the island's harbor. President Muiz met with members of the Omadou Island Council, the Women's Development Committee or WDC, and heads of local institutions to discuss key development concerns. As part of the visit, the government formalized a road development agreement with the Road Development Corporation or RDC. In a move to strengthen local security, construction has officially commenced on a new police station in Omadou. The Omadou Police Station project forms part of a wider national vision to ensure police presence on every inhabited island in the country. Commissioner of Police Ismail Naveen confirmed that police services have now been fully established across all inhabited islands in 4 atolls: Gaf, Alifu, Vav, Fafu, and Kafu, excluding the Greater Male area. President Muiz also inaugurated a new Bank of Maldives or BML automated telemachine or ATM on Omadou. The visit forms part of an ongoing presidential tour across the country's atolls aimed at engaging directly with local councils and communities. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz, during an official visit to Veymandu in Ta Atoll, outlines a national agenda that places Islamic advancement at the center of his administration's development strategy. The president underscored that the unity and identity of the Maldivian people have been preserved through generations by adherence to Islamic principles. He cautioned that physical development, such as land reclamation and hospital construction, would be rendered meaningless if future generations were not anchored in their faith. To advance this goal, the government has launched a series of initiatives aimed at reinforcing religious education and symbolism. President Muiz cited progress in training Huffaz, those who have memorized the Quran, and Qutbah or preachers. He announced a target of 74 Huffaz by the upcoming Ramadan and noted that 500 young Qutbah have already been trained, with plans to double that number by the end of next year. The administration is also featuring zikr boards featuring Islamic messages and guidance along roads and in public spaces across all inhabited islands. In addition, Waqf buildings are being prioritized in urban centers to generate independent income for religious promotion. A Waqf building dedicated to the Quran is expected to begin construction shortly, and regional campuses of the Islamic University of Maldives are planned nationwide. A central pillar of the president's religious policy is the establishment of a branch of the National Center for the Holy Quran on every inhabited island within his 5-year term. Rather than proceeding as a conventional government-funded project, the administration is seeking a private developer to construct the causeway traversing the uninhabited island of Ella as part of a broader tourism expansion strategy. He said this model would yield greater economic and individual benefits for the atoll. Complementing the tourism initiative, the president announced a series of development projects for Veymandu. These include 25 hectares of land reclamation, high-speed road construction, and the expansion and redevelopment of the island's harbor. During the visit, President Muiz inaugurated the Rajya Transport Link or RTL high-speed ferry service in Ta Atoll. Operated by the Maldives Transport and Contracting Company or MTCC, the service will connect all 13 inhabited islands in the atoll, expanding the RTL network to 94 islands across 12 atolls. The government has formalized an agreement with MTCC for a land reclamation and harbor development project in Veymandu. In a separate ceremony, the Veymandu Road Development development project was officially awarded to the Road Development Corporation, or RDC. The foundation stone for a new waste management center in Veymandu was laid as part of the president's official itinerary. Construction work has also begun on a new police station in Veymandu. The project was commenced during a ceremony attended by President Muiz and officiated by Minister of Homeland Security and Technology Ali Ihsan. President Muiz was met with a warm reception upon his arrival in Veymandu, the administrative capital of Ta Atoll. Maldives and Azerbaijan signs the agreement on the mutual exemption of visa requirements, granting visa-free entry for holders of ordinary passports from both countries for a period of 90 days. The agreement was signed on behalf of Maldives by Dr. Abdullah Khalil, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and on behalf of the Azerbaijan by Ceyhun Bayramov, Minister of Foreign Affairs, ahead of their meeting on the sidelines of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this agreement builds on the already existing unilateral visa-free regimes between the two countries and follows the visa agreement signed last year, which exempts Maldivians holding diplomatic and official passports from visa requirements for up to 90 days. And now we bring you the call to prayer for Isha.
गाँव में फतुरकम गेदू के प्रोग्राम का दायरा का मसके कुरा दिवहिं के वाहकता
फुर्सतुगा हिफा इंडस्ट्री निकुम इंडस्ट्री वरा फुलफिलिंग वांड वरा तंतना दातुरुस कुरेन वरा बैर मिनिहुन्ना दिमावान यू विल ग्रो अ लॉट
विदायरा वारुगत कोद्देरे दिवेहिं आस्किन दिवेहिं नशे मिकम वाणी दिवेहि बयाकु फेशी मसक्कते के मिहंविमा मिमसक्कते कोरियत दानी दिवेहि को दिन्ने
अरुगुनुमें उडुनु वरकुं दिवेहि राज्येगा फतुरुरिकं हुलाගෙන් දාන්නේ
කොම්ම තන බැනිනා මසෙක කුරිය කමුගවිය සෙමියකෝගේ එනියක එවුලේ ගොතේ ඒක එන්න
ಫತುರು ವೆಹಿಂ ತಿನೆಂ ಅಕ್ಟೋಬರ್ಗೆ ಸಾದಗಡಿ ತಿರಿಹುಗ ಪಿಎಸ್ಎನ್ ಸಿಂಗ್
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
ಕುರಿಮಗುಸಲ್ಲ ಮೀಗೆ ವಿಹಿಯಾರ್ ಫೌನ್ ರಶುಗೆ ತರಗ್ಗಿ ಒಣ್ಣಾಣಿ ಕಿಹಿನೆ ಕುರಿಮಗುಸಲ್ಲಾಕಿ ರಶುಗೆ ತರಗ್ಗಿಯಾಮೆದು ರೈಯತುಂಗೆ ಖಿಯಾಲ್ ಹೋದುಮ ಬಾವಾ ಬದ್ದಲ್ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಯ ಬೇಫುಳುಂಗೆ ರಶುಗೆ ಕುರಿಮಗು ಕುರಹಾಣಿ ತಿಯ ಬೇಫುಳುಂ ಖಿಯಾಲ್ತಕ ಉಮ್ಮಿತ್ತಕಾಯಕ ವಡಣ್ಣವ ಮಿ ಮಶರಾತುಗ ಹುರಿಹಾ ರೈಯಿತುಂ ಇಸ್ರವ್ವೆಹಿನ್ನ ಜುವಾಣು ಬ್ಯಾರ್ ವಡಣ್ಣವ
ವಿದುಂ ತೆರಿ ರಾಜ್
Welcome back to our English news program, where we continue with the top local stories. Registered private newspapers, magazines, and private broadcasters now have an extended deadline to apply for financial assistance from the state budget. The Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Information and the Arts announced that applications will be accepted until the 7th of October, providing more time for eligible media outlets to submit their proposals. Published on the 22nd of August, the Regulation on Financial Assistance to the Media outlines the criteria and application process. Interested parties can submit their applications exclusively through the online portal. While the established regulation typically permit financial aid to be distributed in 3 installments, this year a presidential decision has been made to disperse the funds in a single payment. A key prerequisite for receiving this financial assistance is mandatory registration for all media entities. For broadcast media, a valid license is also required. Media organizations that have demonstrated at least 3 years of continuous service are encouraged to apply. Further eligibility requirements include ensuring public access to the media outlet, maintaining a published code of ethics and conduct. Additionally, any media outlet whose responsible person has outstanding and verified debts must settle these obligations before being considered for the grant. The rules also stipulate that if any entity operates multiple media outlets, including broadcast and print or online formats, they may submit separate proposals for one media outlet of each type. While the regulation generally stipulates 3 separate payments, the president has authorized a single lump sum payment for this year only. An estimated $1.8 million has been allocated from the state budget for this purpose, equivalent to 0.1% of the budgeted state revenue for this year. The funds will be distributed based on a points-based system with a 60-point minimum threshold required for eligibility. This initiative marks the first time that the state budget has specifically earmarked financial assistance for private media outlets. The overarching goal of this program are to foster financially viable and independent private media operations, encourage the dissemination of productive content and reliable news reporting, and ultimately to elevate journalism into an industry capable of providing responsible and sustainable employment opportunities. Authorities in the Greater Male region orders the closure of 45 food preparation establishments found to be operating in violation of national safety standards. The enforcement action follows a large-scale inspection campaign that reviewed 400 businesses over a 4-day period, signaling a marked intensification of oversight under the Maldives' newly enacted Food Safety Act. The inspections, led jointly by the Maldives Food and Drug Authority, or MFDA, the Male City Council, and the Housing Development Corporation, or HDC, are being conducted across the capital and its surrounding urban zones, including Hulumale, Vilimale, Golifalu, and Tilafushi. Officials described the operation, which began on the 21st of September and is scheduled to conclude on the 30th of September, as a significantly more rigorous iteration of the annual review process, shaped by the expanded mandates of the new legislation. Inspectors are assessing a broad spectrum of food service providers, including tea shops, cafes, restaurants, and takeaway outlets. The campaign also seeks to identify and shut down businesses operating without requisite MFDA permits, a priority under the tightened regulatory framework. We now take a look at world business. German business morale unexpectedly declines in September, a survey showed, as the economic outlook remained weak. The IFO Institute said its business climate index decreased to 87.7 in September from a revised 88.9 in August. Analysts polled by media outlets had forecast a reading of 89.3. Companies were less satisfied with their current business, and expectations also clouded noticeably. According to Clemens Foist, president of the IFO Institute, there has been a notable downturn in the service sector, particularly in industry-related services such as transport and logistics, reflecting ongoing weakness in industrial exports. Foist expressed concern over the inefficient use of government funds intended for investment. He noted that many companies are disappointed with the current approach, which relies heavily on special funds instead of long-term reforms, warning that his method is unlikely to achieve desired growth. There is a growing sense that the promised reforms of the new government to revive the economy are slower and less far-reaching than initially expected. The IFO president added that politicians seem to be afraid to implement meaningful pension and healthcare reforms, delaying decision-making that would benefit growth. Germany has struggled to regain momentum this year, with the economy contracting by 0.3% in the second quarter compared with the first 3 months of the year, as U.S. demand slowed following months of buying ahead in anticipation of U.S. President Donald Trump's new tariffs. Insights into international affairs. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls on all countries that are party to the Paris Climate Agreement to set new climate plans for the year 2035 that achieve faster and deeper emission reduction cuts than they've already pledged. Guterres is hosting a climate leaders summit on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, where he has asked countries to announce their new climate targets to drum up a momentum for the global COP30 climate negotiations in November in Brazil. The summit comes a day after US President Donald Trump used his UNGA speech to blast climate change as a con job and criticize countries like EU member states and China for embracing renewable energy technologies. The world's biggest historical emitter and the second biggest greenhouse gas emitter behind China, the US is currently withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, the 10-year-old climate pact that aimed to prevent global temperatures from rising beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius through national climate plans.
The Paris Agreement has made a difference. In the last 10 years, projected global temperature rise has dropped from 4 degrees Celsius to less than 3 if current NDCs are fully implemented. Now, we need new plans for 2035 that go much further and much faster, delivering dramatic emissions cuts aligned with 1.5 degrees, covering all emissions and sectors, and accelerating a just energy transition globally.
The European Union has not reached agreement on its new UN-mandated climate target in time for the summit and has instead drafted plans to submit a temporary goal, which could change later, an EU negotiating document seen by Reuters showed. According to the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, all eyes are on China, which has previously pledged to achieve net zero before 2060, which would require a roughly 30% emission reduction by 2035 below peak 2024 levels. We now conclude this English news program. We will return with any further updates. Thank you for watching.